Republican Senator Tom Cotton joins us. He serves on the Judiciary, Intelligence, and Armed Services Committee. Senator Cotton, good evening. Good to have you with us again. I'd like to ask you a question that your senator colleague had trouble with. Did Donald Trump lose the last election?
Well, look, obviously Joe Biden's the president. He's in the White House. That's why everything has gone to hell in a handbasket for the last 4 years. But as JD said tonight, he's focused on the future and the future that Donald Trump can restore to America. For 4 years, we had stable prices, rising wages, a secure border, and a peaceful, stable world. And over the last 4 years, because Joe Biden has been president and Kamala Harris has been his vice president, we've had everything going to hell in a handbasket. Donald Trump is going to bring back the good times we had. Kamala Harris will extend 4 years of Joe Biden's presidency.
I realize that this is about something that's in the past, Senator, but it is something that the Republican nominee for president brings up a lot. And the reason I think it's more than just something that can be dismissed in the past is when you talk to national security officials about domestic violence, they say one of the things that stokes that violence is the idea that the last election was fraudulent and that Donald Trump was the rightful victor. And so this isn't something about the past. It is a kindling of what, according to national security experts, of a present threat of violence. And that's why this is not something that's in the past. Why isn't it easy to just say he lost, and now we hope he wins?
Well, first off, John, I don't know who these experts are you're talking about. Tim Walz tonight just like Kamala Harris has said for years, she wants to defer to the so-called experts. These are the experts maybe that told us we should shut down schools or put kids in masks. These are the same experts that told us that Israel should be restrained every time it gets attacked, as opposed to letting Israel win. So I don't know who the so-called experts you're referring to here, but I can tell you the real threat of violence that we see in America today is rampant crime in our streets, or Kamala Harris and Joe Biden having 28,000 murderers and rapists who are illegal aliens released into our communities. Or for that matter, turning the other way when our streets are burning, as they were during the BLM riots in 2020. Tim Walz being caught flat-footed. Kamala Harris trying to bail out rioters and looters and arsonists. Those are the things that are the real threat of violence in this country today.
Senator Cotton, Cecilia Vega here. One question for you before we let you go on the issue of reproductive rights, which created a healthy exchange on that debate stage. We heard Senator Vance tonight say that many Americans have lost faith in your own party, in Republicans, when it comes to reproductive rights. He said, quote, "We've got to do so much better a job at earning Americans' trust back." Do you agree with that?
Well, I thought JD gave a very good answer on the way American democracy works. He said he has his personal views, but the people of Ohio disagreed with them, just like the people of California are going to have a different view than the people of Alabama or Ohio. I think he respects the American people. He will level with them in a way that Tim Walz did not tonight. Tim Walz signed a law that would allow a child born in a botched abortion to die on the table, to be denied life-saving care. Tim Walz refused to answer a question whether he thinks any restrictions at all should be imposed on abortion in the 9th month of a pregnancy. J.D. Vance was leveling with the American people, not only about where he stands, but about how democracy works. He and President Trump respect the diversity of opinion on this question and other questions in our democracy. It's Tim Walz and Kamala Harris that wants a radical one-size-fits-all solution for the country.
Senator Cotton of Arkansas, excuse me. Thank you so much, Senator. Obviously, the governor has a very different view of that law, and he said so repeatedly on the debate stage.